Pope Leo XIV closed the door to his private study in the Apostolic Palace when he heard the sobs, not the usual murmurs of pilgrims or clerics seeking an audience, but sounds laden with profound anguish that pierced through the thick stone walls. It was midnight in Vatican City, the Basilica of St. Peter had fallen silent hours ago. Yet he remained reviewing documents on ecclesiastical reforms, the whimpers coming from the outer gardens, prompting Leo to peer cautiously through the window, his steps silent as he descended the secondary stairs, avoiding the Swiss guards patrolling the halls. Under the dim light of the lampposts, he discerned a feminine silhouette huddled beside an ornamental fountain. "Madam, are you all right?" he asked, approaching calmly, the woman lifting her face. Her eyes swollen and reddened from incessant crying, her brown hair falling disheveled over her shoulders, her simple clothes showing signs of an exhausting journey. "Holy Father, they stole my little girl." Her words emerged broken, barely audible amid the sobs. "They took my Isabel." Leo leaned slightly, maintaining a respectful distance. Having attended countless cases of human suffering during his pontificate, refugees, war victims, the terminally ill, but this woman's desperation was visceral, like a primal cry. "What is your name?" "Maria Ruiz." "I live in a poor neighborhood of Rome, near the Tiber." She wiped her nose with her jacket sleeve. "My baby is only 7 months old. This morning I left her with my neighbor to go to work. When I returned..." She couldn't continue, spasms of crying interrupting her again. Leo, knowing the marginal areas of Rome, where poverty intertwined with organized crime, perfect for someone to vanish without a trace. "Have you reported the case to the police?" Maria shook her head vehemently. "I went to the station. They told me to wait 48 hours. That babies don't just disappear. Maybe she's with a relative." Her voice hardened. "What relative, Holy Father?" "My neighbor was unconscious when I arrived. Someone hit her and took Isabel." The Pope felt a chill. During his seminary training and rise in the church hierarchy, he had studied reports on human trafficking, Italy being a European hub for such networks, with babies sold on the black market to wealthy families. "Mrs. Maria, you must file a formal complaint. The Carabinieri won't listen to me," she shouted, standing up. "I'm a single immigrant from Latin America. To them I'm invisible," her words echoing in the empty gardens. Leo, knowing she was right, the bureaucracy and indifference in law enforcement notorious, especially with the marginalized. "What can I do for you?" Maria looked at him steadily. In that gaze, more than pain, there was an unbreakable plea. "Help me find her. Holy Father, you have worldwide influence, contacts everywhere." Leo closed his eyes for a moment, his role as Pope obliging him to guide spiritually. But this meant diving into murky waters, risking scandal for the church. Yet the image of a defenseless baby in traffickers' hands compelled him. "All right, but let's proceed with discretion." Maria Ruiz walked hurriedly through the cobblestone streets of Rome's Trastevere, Pope Leo following at a distance. Disguised in simple civilian clothes and a hat to avoid recognition, they had agreed not to be seen together. The paparazzi and rumors in the Eternal City spread like wildfire. It was a cloudy morning, the local market bustling with street vendors offering fresh fruits and crafts. Maria stopped at a herb stall where an elderly woman arranged bundles of lavender. "Good morning, Doña Julia." The herbalist looked up, her shrewd eyes scanning Maria. "Maria, dear, how's your neighbor?" "I heard she had an incident." Leo positioned himself behind an ice cream cart, close enough to hear. Maria had insisted that someone influential like the Pope witness her inquiries. The police ignored her, but no one would dare disregard the Holy Father. "It wasn't an incident, Doña Julia. Someone attacked her and stole my little girl." The old woman dropped a bundle, her hands trembling. "What do you say? They took little Isabel?" "Yes, and I think you know something." Maria's tone hardened, shifting from the grieving mother to a relentless investigator. Doña Julia glanced around, seeking eavesdroppers in the market's bustle. "I don't know what you're talking about. On Sunday you were at the early mass at Santa Maria in Trastevere. I saw you leave early. Where did you go?" The herbalist stood with effort, nervous. "I had matters at home, like warning someone about my neighbor's schedule." Leo felt the tension thicken. Maria wasn't questioning randomly, she had specific leads. Doña Julia whispered, "Maria, there are secrets better left unknown. There are people who don't tolerate questions. My daughter is 7 months old. What harm can a baby do?" The old woman's eyes moistened. She leaned closer. "Babies are innocent, but valuable to certain buyers." Leo's stomach churned. His worst fears confirmed a trafficking ring. "Who took her?" Doña Julia shook her head. "I can't say. They'd silence me. They're already silencing me." Maria exclaimed, drawing glances from merchants. Leo approached, feigning interest in a cheese stall. The herbalist breathed deeply. There's a villa on the outskirts toward Ostia, white with blue gates. That's where they gather the children before sending them abroad. Maria clenched her fists. Who runs it? Don Vittorio Moretti. But don't go alone, he's a soulless demon. Leo decided to step in. Good morning, ladies. Don Vittorio Moretti was notorious in Rome's underworld for his fighting dogs and explosive temper. His villa, located exactly where Dona Giulia indicated, on the road to Ostia, an imposing two-story structure with high walls and blue iron gates. Leo had arranged to meet Maria at a service station 300 meters away. It was mid-afternoon, the Italian heat scorching. She waited under an olive tree. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, sitting beside her. Maria, with deep dark circles, evidence of sleeplessness. "Holy Father, it's been 40 hours without my baby. If you had a daughter, would you wait?" Leo didn't reply, knowing she was right, but also the dangers. Don Vittorio didn't tolerate uninvited guests, especially in his illicit dealings. "I'll knock at the gate. You watch from here." "No, let's go together, Maria. If something happens to me, the Vatican will investigate. If to you, no one will ask." The words harsh but true. His papal status granting partial immunity. He walked to the villa with firm steps. The gates closed. No noise inside. He knocked 3 times. "Who?" A voice roared from within. Pope Leo XIV, from the Holy See. Footsteps approached. Bolts slid. The gate opened just enough to reveal Don Vittorio's wrinkled face. "Holy Father, what are you doing here?" The man, about 65, with tanned skin and a cheek scar, his dark eyes scrutinizing Leo with distrust. "I come for a delicate matter." Don Vittorio glanced at the road, pausing where Maria hid. "What matter?" "A baby disappeared in Trastevere, Isabel Ruiz." The change in Don Vittorio, immediate muscles tensing, eyes hardening. "And what about me?" "Sources suggest you know something." Don Vittorio laughed without humor. "What sources?" "The mother, Maria Ruiz." That he knew the full name confirmed Leo's suspicions. "I know everyone in Rome, especially the troublesome ones." A mother searching for her daughter isn't troublesome. Don Vittorio opened the gate wider, smelling of tobacco and wine. "Holy Father, a piece of advice. There are matters not suited for the Vatican. Return to your palace." "Is that a threat?" A friendly suggestion. Leo felt his pulse race, but kept composure. "Where is the girl, Isabel?" Don Vittorio smiled, showing yellow teeth. "No idea. But if you find her, tell the mother that mistakes cost dearly." A black van had been parked near street. Peter's Square since dawn. Pope Leo noticed it when leaving for his morning audience. 2 men inside, smoking, observing every movement around the Vatican. Maria arrived during the papal blessing, slipping to a side bench in the basilica, her face pale, contrasting with determined eyes. When the ceremony ended and the faithful dispersed, she remained. Leo approached, pretending to adjust a candelabrum. "They're watching us." "Holy Father," she whispered without looking. "Since yesterday there are strangers around my house. Do you recognize anyone?" "They're not locals. They appeared after your visit to Don Vittorio." The Pope felt a knot in his stomach. His confrontation had stirred the nest, but not as hoped. "Any news of your daughter?" Maria closed her eyes, tears rolling. "My neighbor woke up. She spoke a bit before the doctors came." Long pause. Leo waited. She recognized one of the attackers. Don Vittorio's nephew, Luca Moretti, the name infamous in Rome. Luca had been in prison for drug trafficking and returned recently, violent with a serious criminal record. "Will your neighbor testify?" "She has brain damage. Sometimes doesn't remember her name." The complexity increased. No reliable witnesses, and authorities possibly bought. Options dwindling. "Maria, we need external help." "I'll contact Interpol." She shook her head. "I trust no one. They're all connected." "What do you propose?" Maria stood and walked to the altar. Leo followed discreetly in case watched. "Last night I spoke to Dona Giulia again. She gave more details. She stopped before a virgin statue. She says Don Vittorio doesn't act alone. There's a network extending to Paris and Berlin. They move children every 2 weeks. Leo's heart pounded. They had less than 48 hours before Isabel vanished. How does Dona Giulia know? Her grandson worked for Don Vittorio, transporting packages north until he refused. What happened to him? He appeared drowned in the Tiber 4 months ago. Officially an accident. Leo shuddered. They were in something vast and lethal. "Maria, we can't do this alone, I know. That's why I ask something." She looked pleading. "Help me enter that villa tonight. You're crazy. They'll catch us. They'll catch me anyway. But if I find my daughter, it'll be worth it." Leo prayed silently. knowing the logical thing was to alert international agencies, follow protocols, but by then Isabel would be lost. Fine, but with cunning, the plan was bold and risky. Maria knew Don Vittorio's habits from cleaning houses in the area. On Wednesday nights he attended dogfights in a vacant lot near the cemetery. Returning drunk at dawn, Leo waited until 11 p.m. to leave the Vatican, using a discreet car parked in a secret garage. Maria waited 4 blocks ahead, dressed in dark. "Are you sure they left?" "I saw Don Vittorio's van leave an hour ago. Luca with him." They drove in silence through deserted Roman streets, only faulty streetlights and moon illuminating. Near the villa, Leo turned off lights. Guiding by instinct, the property seemed empty. No lights, gates closed. They parked 100 meters away behind bushes. "How do we enter?" Maria pointed back. "There's a low wall to the neighbor's garden. I know it from my cousin who lived there." They descended cautiously. Every gravel crunch amplified. Maria guided through a path to the 2-meter wall. "Me first." She jumped agilely. Leo followed with effort, his age and papal life not preparing for this. The backyard had empty cages and feathers, smell of animals and dirt. They advanced crouched to the house. Maria tried the back door, locked but old wood. Leo used a multi-tool from his pocket, forcing the lock after tense attempts. Inside, total darkness. Maria lit a small flashlight pointing to the floor. The rustic kitchen had old furniture, dirty dishes, smell of stale food and something rotten. "This way," she whispered, pointing a narrow hallway. They advanced, stopping to listen. Ominous silence, as if the house held terrible secrets. At the end, 3 doors. First, dirty bathroom. Second, messy bedroom. Third, new padlock. "Here." Maria, trembling. Leo examined. "Resistant. We have to break it." They found a hammer and tools. Leo wrapped it in cloth to muffle, hitting until it yielded. The room not what expected. Maria shone. 5 cribs lined. Empty, but with rumpled sheets and toys. Smell of talcum and milk. Opposite wall, a table with documents, photos, list of names with dates and money sums. Maria approached cribs trembling, took a blue blanket. "It's Isabel's. I sued it." Leo reviewed papers. Fake birth certificates, medical certs, adoption contracts with seals, names altered, dates manipulated. "Look at this." Maria found a handwritten ledger. Leo read. "Isabel Ruiz, 7 months, delivered recently. Destination, Schmidt family, Berlin, payment, 150 eurosos, nausea, not just kidnappings, sales." Maria flipped pages, more names. Carlo Bianchi, 5 months. Anna Lombardi, 9 months. List of horror. Dozens of children disappeared in Europe. "Let's take it." Leo stowing the ledger. Then van sound approaching, headlights briefly illuminating windows. They arrived early. Maria panicked. Leo turned off light, male voices outside, keys at gate. Exit, back door. They left, but broken padlock betrayed, ran to kitchen as voices entered. Leo distinguished Don Vittorio's voice mixed with others. Something wrong here. Back door open, terror. To the bathroom. Leo pushed Maria to hallway. "And you?" "Distraction. Run to wall when they go out." "I won't leave you." "Your daughter needs you alive. I can handle." Without time. Leo walked to front door making noise. "Who's there?" Don Vittorio shouted. Leo opened wide. "Good evening, Don Vittorio." The man with Luca and another armed. "What are you doing here?" "Searching for Isabel Ruiz. Did you find her?" "Something better. Proof of your crimes." Don Vittorio ordered search while pointing at Leo, the third guarding door. "You meddled where you shouldn't." Leo stalled. "Where's the girl?" "No idea." "I have evidence." "What evidence?" Luca shouted. "Room open." They took the ledger. Fury in Don Vittorio. "Where is it?" Leo silent, hoping Maria escaped. Answer, "No idea." Slap from Don Vittorio. Blood in Leo's mouth. Luca searched. Found ledger. Here Don Vittorio leafed relieved. "Naive." "Holy Father." Leo stood. "What about me?" "Good question." Looked outside. Silence. Maria fled. "You didn't come alone." "Yes, I did." Lie. "Footprints of 2, Luca." "Footprints to wall." "Search around." As Luca left, Don Vittorio. "Tell me who, and die quick." "No." "To the basement." "Wait, I propose a deal." "Deal?" "The church has funds. Payment for the girl and list." Don Vittorio considered. "No, I work for powerful who don't forgive." "Who?" Luca returned. "No one but footprints to center." Don Vittorio cursed. "We leave. If more, they'll come." The van stopped at an unknown place. They had traveled an hour on rural roads. Away from Rome, Leo with hands tied, hooded. Upon removing it, he saw an abandoned estate. Cracked walls, collapsed roof, gas lamps creating shadows. "Welcome." Don Vittorio's sarcasm, pushed inside, smell of damp and rats, dirty mattresses, buckets as impromptu bathrooms, operations center, one of several. Here we bring children before final transfer. Chill in Leo. Is Isabel here? Not anymore. What? Taken this morning, en route to Germany. Legs weak, if transferred. Recovery hard. Where exactly? Berlin. European families pay for healthy babies. Monstrous business, demand and supply. Luca. What with him? Don Vittorio checked watch. 4 a.m. See if his friend alerted police. If not, in 2 hours. She stayed quiet to Leo. Hope you came alone. Or your death on her conscience. Leo desperate, unsure if Maria contacted help, likely hid terrified. Vittorio, stop this. Return the girl and me. Church intercedes. Laugh intercedes. Holy Father, you don't understand. Involves police, judges, even clerics blessing fake adoptions. Nausea. Impossible? Think we move hundreds of children without protection? Magnitude overwhelming. If true, no trustworthy authority. Who's behind? People with power who can make popes disappear. The third approached. Radio call. Patrols moving. Don Vittorio cursed. How many? 7 toward here. Face hardened. Luca, prepare exit, change location to Leo. Your friend signed your death. The sirens grew louder, a distant wail slicing through the rural night like a warning from the heavens. Maria had clearly made her move, summoning reinforcements, but Pope Leo wondered if this wouldn't escalate everything into chaos. Don Vittorio and his men heavily armed and cornered, ready for a desperate standoff that could end in disaster. Luca, take the Pope to the back room, Don Vittorio ordered while checking his weapon with practiced efficiency. His voice, a low growl laced with urgency. The nephew nodded grimly and shoved Leo toward a dimly lit chamber filled with ragged mattresses and desperate scratches on the walls. Evidence of previous captives clawing for freedom. How many children have passed through here? Leo asked, his tone steady despite the fear gnawing at him. Luca ignored the question, pressing the cold barrel against the Pope's temple. Shut up and don't move. Outside the sirens halted abruptly. Doors slamming and commands barking in the darkness. A megaphone crackled to life. Vittorio Moretti, you're surrounded. Come out with your hands up. Don Vittorio shouted back defiantly. There's no Vittorio here. You've got the wrong place. We have a search warrant. We'll come in regardless. Leo strained to hear the hushed discussions. Words like back exit and hostage leverage floating through the air, adding to the mounting dread. Luca, bring the Pope out. We'll use him as a bargaining chip. Luca dragged Leo back to the main room, Don Vittorio peering through a window with narrowed eyes. At least 10 patrol cars out there, he muttered. The megaphone echoed again. We know you have the Holy Father as a hostage. Release him now and we can negotiate. Don Vittorio's lips curled into a bitter smirk. I have terms too. I want a private jet and safe passage to Switzerland. That's not happening. Be reasonable. Then the Pope pays the price. To emphasize, Don Vittorio fired a shot into the ceiling, the blast reverberating through the estate like thunder, dust raining down as silence fell outside for agonizing minutes. Then a new voice on the megaphone. This is Inspector Rossi. I'll bring a phone so we can talk directly. Don Vittorio considered. Fine, but if anyone gets too close, the cleric gets it. Luca and the third man positioned themselves at different windows, rifles at the ready, scanning the shadows for movement. Don Vittorio kept watch on the front. Pope, get ready to meet your maker for your principles, he taunted. Leo responded calmly. It doesn't have to come to that. There's still a way out. What way? Prison for life or taken down trying to escape. I've got nothing to lose. Cooperate. Give up your superiors. Turn evidence. Don Vittorio laughed bitterly. Cooperate? Inspector out there is as deep in this as I am. What do you mean? The cops on payroll. This isn't a rescue. It's a cleanup to erase loose ends. Leo's blood ran cold. If true, the operation was a facade to eliminate witnesses, including him. The megaphone announced, "Here comes the phone." A cell phone wrapped in plastic sailed through the window, landing with a thud. Don Vittorio picked it up warily and answered, "Who's this?" "Rossi. Is the Pope all right?" "Alive for now. We want this without trouble, jet and passage. That takes time. Need approval from the capital. 2 hours. Not enough. Start making calls then." He hung up and tossed the phone aside. Leo seized the quiet moment to observe, spotting an improvised altar in the corner with figures of Santa Muerte and the Virgin, melted candles suggesting someone had sought solace here. "You believe in something, Vittorio." The man followed his gaze. My grandmother was devout, always said the Virgin protects the innocent. What would she say about what you're doing now? Silence stretched. Then Vittorio's voice softened slightly. She'd be ashamed. It's not too late to change. It's way past that for me. Luca interrupted from his post. They're shifting positions around the back. Don Vittorio grabbed the phone and dialed. Rossi, I said no approaching, just securing the perimeter. Lie, I have eyes on it. All right. I'll order them back. Too late. I warned you what would happen. He cut the call and signaled Luca, end him. Leo closed his eyes, whispering a prayer as the hammer clicked back. Wait, he called out. I have information on who else knows about this. Don Vittorio raised a hand to halt Luca. What are you talking about? Maria didn't come to me alone. International journalists are investigating the entire network. Vittorio's expression shifted to genuine concern for the first time. Journalists? From Brussels, they have documents, photos, testimonies. How did they get that? Maria had been working with them for weeks. I was just part of the plan to get direct evidence. Vittorio pondered. If journalists were involved, it meant global exposure. His bosses wouldn't forgive that kind of heat. The phone rang again. Rossi here. The jet's en route, but we need more time. How much? 4 hours. He glanced at his watch. It was nearly 6 a.m. Daylight would complicate any getaway. Fine, but the Pope comes with me. That's not possible. Then no deal. Okay. He can go with you until you're at a safe spot. The 4 hours that followed were a nerve-wracking ordeal, the men rotating watch duties, growing increasingly jittery as the sun rose, turning the estate into a sweltering oven. Vittorio broke the tension unexpectedly. 15 years in this game, he said, staring at the wall, seen things that would turn your stomach. He approached Leo. Know how many kids I've moved? Over 400, the number horrified Leo. 400 families shattered by greed and indifference. Why do it? Paid well, bosses protected me, better than scraping by in poverty. Ever feel remorse? Another long pause. At first, yeah, I'd drink myself numb to sleep. But you get used to it. Used to what? Seeing the kids as products, not thinking about the crying mothers or what happens after. Luca called from the rear window. The jet's approaching. The whir of rotors grew from the north. Don Vittorio peered out, spotting a civilian helicopter descending. The phone buzzed. Vittorio, your transport's here? Land in the clearing 200 meters east. And my men? Just you and the hostage. Vittorio eyed Luca and the third man, weighing whether to leave them behind. Uncle, don't abandon us, Luca pleaded. Everyone fends for themselves in this life. They'll take us out as soon as you're gone. Vittorio drew his pistol, pointing it at his own nephew. Move aside. The moment hung surreal, Leo witnessing how years of wrongdoing had eroded all human bonds. Don't do this, he urged. Shut it. Your nephew's right. They'll eliminate them once you're out. Doesn't matter to me. Luca lunged desperately for the gun, the two tumbling to the floor in a frantic struggle. The third man moved to aid Vittorio, but Leo, despite bound hands, shoved him hard, buying a precious second. The scuffle lasted mere heartbeats. A shot rang out, then eerie quiet. Vittorio rose slowly, Luca lying motionless in a pool of his own blood. What have you done? Leo murmured in horror. What I had to. The third man backed away terrified, hands raised. Boss, I don't want trouble. You won't if you keep quiet? Vittorio grabbed Leo's arm and propelled him toward the door. Let's go. The chopper won't wait forever. The helicopter touched down amid swirling dust that obscured vision for minutes, Vittorio keeping his gun jammed into Leo's back as they navigated the uneven terrain. Upon reaching it, Leo noted the pilot in helmet and dark glasses. Posture oddly familiar. Get in. The pilot yelled over the rotor noise. Vittorio forced Leo into the rear seat before climbing aboard, doors slamming shut as the craft lifted off swiftly. Where to? Vittorio demanded. North. Technical stop in Milan. Leo gazed at the receding landscape, patrol cars, tiny specks, the estate a fading blot on the arid ground. What about the man left behind? He asked. The pilot replied. Not our concern anymore. The voice struck a chord. Leo trying to glimpse the face in the rear view, but hindered by the gear. They flew for 30 minutes over alpine vistas, dotted with villages and winding roads. Do you know Vittorio? Leo probed the pilot. We work for the same people. What people? A sharp jab from Vittorio. No more questions. The descent began toward a makeshift airstrip near Milan, a flat field marked by lights, no facilities or personnel in sight. Why stop here? Vittorio questioned. Change of plans. And the engine wound down to silence. Get out. Vittorio complied, weapon trained on Leo. Once all three were on the ground, the pilot removed helmet and glasses. It was Inspector Rossi. What is this? Vittorio barked suspiciously. Circumstances shifted. Vittorio, Rossi drew his own pistol, aiming steadily. The higher-ups are upset. Too much exposure, too many witnesses. I did my part, never talked, but the Pope knows too much. And now journalists are in the mix. Vittorio turned panicked eyes on Leo. Is the journalist thing true? Leo met his gaze. I didn't make it up to buy time, you cursed fool. Vittorio raised his gun toward the Pope, but Rossi fired first, the shot echoing as Vittorio crumpled lifeless to the dry earth. Why? Leo demanded. He knew too much, just like you. Rossi leveled the barrel at Leo's chest. Sorry it came to this. You poked where you shouldn't. You're part of the trafficking. Let's say I provide logistical protection. How many officers are involved? Enough to keep things smooth. Rossi checked his watch. In half an hour, your bodies will be found. Official story. You two fought during the escape attempt. And the girl Isabel? What girl? The callousness chilled Leo more than any threat. To these men, Isabel was merely a transaction digit. Where is she? Likely crossing into Germany by now? And with luck, she'll grow up in a family that can give her what her mother never could. That's for Maria to decide, not you. Rossi shrugged indifferently. The world's not fair, Holy Father. You, of all people, should know. Before he could pull the trigger, the roar of approaching vehicles shattered the quiet. A convoy of black military vans racing toward the strip, kicking up dust clouds. What in the world? Rossi muttered, lowering his arm slightly. The vans encircled the helicopter. Over a dozen armed men in Interpol uniforms spilling out. An older man in a dark suit striding forward with authority, his movements precise and commanding. Inspector Rossi, he stated flatly. Who are you? Rossi kept his weapon ready. Special Agent Conti, Interpol. You're under arrest for child trafficking, homicide, and corruption. Rossi assessed his odds surrounded. Escape futile. I don't know what you're talking about. We have recordings of your calls from the last 8 hours. Photographic evidence of this location, testimonies linking you directly to Vittorio's network. Conti turned to Leo. Are you all right, Holy Father? Yes, but what about Maria and Isabel? Maria is in protective custody. She contacted us after escaping the villa. Relief flooded Leo. Maria had reached the right authorities. The child was moved toward Germany this morning. We've coordinated with federal teams to intercept the transport. Rossi seized the distraction to raise his gun, but 2 agents tackled him instantly, disarming and cuffing him with professional swiftness. Conti, how did you know exactly where to find us? Rossi made the mistake of using official radio channels to orchestrate this. We've been monitoring suspect officials for months. You knew about the network? Suspicions, but we needed solid proof. You and Maria provided that. Conti inspected Vittorio's body briefly. He was a key pawn, but not the mastermind. His death complicates things. He had intel on the upper levels. What upper levels? This operation involves European officials. We're talking millions in euros yearly. He issued quiet orders to his team, then returned. We need you to come with us for an official statement, of course, but I want to see Maria first. She's in a safe house in Milan. We can take you there. En route in the van to Milan, Leo reflected on the victimized children. Over 400, as Vittorio claimed, lives upended by avarice and systemic rot. What are the chances of recovering Isabel? High. The vehicle has to pass several checkpoints before the border. We've alerted all relevant agencies. The safe house was a nondescript apartment in a Milan residential area. Maria seated in the living room, embracing her neighbor, both with red-rimmed eyes. Upon seeing Leo enter, she stood immediately. Holy Father, are you okay? I am. How's your neighbor? Recovering, the woman said weakly. Bandaged head? I can't forgive myself for letting them take Isabel. Leo sat beside them. You bear no blame. You did all you could to protect her. If I'd shouted louder, run faster, they might have. They would have stopped you permanently, Maria interjected, and I'd have lost my daughter and my friend. Agent Conti entered with Special Prosecutor Elena Bianchi. We have updates on Isabel. Maria tensed visibly. The transport was stopped at a checkpoint near the Swiss border, carrying 4 infants, including yours. Maria covered her face, tears of relief streaming. Is she okay? No harm? Perfectly fine. A bit dehydrated, but no injuries. Doctors are checking her at the General Hospital. When can I see her? In a few hours. After some legal steps, the prosecutor addressed Leo. Holy Father, we need every detail from the last 72 hours. Your account is vital for prosecuting all involved. Over the next 3 hours, Leo recounted it all: the initial encounter, the investigations, the break-in, captivity, the aerial escape, and the dramatic rescue. The prosecutor recorded everything. Jotting detailed notes? Did Vittorio mention 400 children? Yes, over 15 years, he spoke of powerful backers. Any specific names? None, but Rossi confirmed police complicity. The prosecutor exchanged glances with Conti. This aligns with our worst fears. The network is larger than we thought. What happens next? We'll dismantle affiliated cells in France and Germany. We've already rescued 12 more children, reunited with families? Most, yes. Some cases trickier after years with unaware adoptive families. Leo grasped the moral complexity. Bonds formed under false pretenses now painful to sever. What about the buying families? We evaluate individually. Child's well-being first. An agent entered with a document. Prosecutor. The child's at the hospital, ready for reunion. Maria rose so quickly she nearly stumbled. Can I go now? Absolutely. Would you like the Holy Father to accompany? Please. Without him, I'd never have gotten her back. At Milan's General Hospital, the prosecutor had arranged a private room away from prying eyes and media. A pediatric doctor greeted them in the hall. The baby is in excellent condition. She cried a lot recently, but shows no signs of mistreatment. Maria trembled with anticipation and nerves. Keep calm. Infants sense adult stress. They opened the door. Isabel in a portable crib, awake and serene. Upon seeing Maria, she reached out with a beaming smile that lit the room. My beautiful girl. Maria scooped her up, sobbing uncontrollably. Leo watched from the back, moved deeply by this pure joy. After so much peril and despair, the neighbor approached despite her frailty. Forgive me, Isabel, for not protecting you better. The baby extended a tiny hand to her aunt, as if absolving any fault. The doctor left them alone for half an hour, Maria never releasing her daughter, cradling, singing, showering with kisses as tears flowed freely. Never again. She whispered into the baby's ear, I'll never let you go. When an agent entered for final legalities, Maria still rocked Isabel protectively. Mrs. Ruiz, some signatures for official custody. She's my daughter, we know, but documentation ensures no future challenges, Leo reassured. It's just procedure, secures your rights. After signing, the prosecutor turned to Leo. What are your plans now? Return to the Vatican, my duties await. Concern for safety? I've made powerful enemies, but I won't live in fear. Faith guides me. She handed a card. Call if issues arise. Your testimony will be key in upcoming trials. When do they start? Weeks from now. Rossi has already named several in exchange for leniency. Maria, holding Isabel, asked, Will you come with us home? Are you sure about returning to Rome so soon? It's our home. I won't let criminals drive me away, Conti added. We'll provide protection for weeks until all arrests. I don't want to live scared, but I do want my daughter safe. During the drive back, Leo pondered the lessons etched into his soul. His faith deepened. His understanding of evil's intricacies expanded. Maria, what now for you? Care for my daughter, work, live normally, fear of remaining accomplices? Fear, yes, but also faith. Faith that we did right, that justice will hold. Upon arriving at the Vatican, word of the rescue had spread. Cardinals awaiting, Doña Julia approached with a bouquet, for the little one, to beg forgiveness for my cowardice. Maria accepted with a smile. You helped too. Without your info, we'd be lost. Months later, the prosecutor called during Leo's sermon preparation. Sentences handed down, Rossi 35 years, 12 officials 20 to 30. Deep satisfaction washed over Leo. Justice served at least in part, and the full network dismantled 4 more cells in Spain and Holland, rescued 18 children, reunited? Yes, for most. Leo smiled. Partial victory, but meaningful. Maria secured a job at an NGO fighting trafficking. Isabel healthy and thriving. An unexpected visit. Maria entering the basilica with Isabel toddling determinedly. Holy Father. The child ran to him beaming. Uncle Leo, how are you ladies? Well, thanks again. Enough thanks. Never enough. A favor. Baptize Isabel, he grinned. The baptism a celebration of renewed hope. We'll dedicate our lives to helping other families. The prosecutor offered me a role as victim liaison. Will you take it? I already did, watching them play in the church aisles. Leo saw the story as a beginning of broader missions. Justice had triumphed here, but thousands of children still vanished yearly across Europe. The network they toppled just one among many, yet each saved life a significant win. They couldn't rescue all but would fight for everyone. That night in prayer, Leo gave thanks for being part of this tale, his belief in humanity bolstered by a mother's love and ordinary solidarity. The bells of St. Peter's tolled, signaling a new day. For Pope Leo XIV, each dawn a fresh chance to serve, safeguard, and prove light overcomes shadow. On his desk the gospel lay open. "Let the children come to me." Words imbued with profound new meaning, the saga of Isabel, Maria, and countless others would inspire his papacy onward. Being Pope meant not just preaching God's love but actively defending it against those seeking to dismantle it.